The man hated Gandhi with a passion.
You hate Gandhi? Who hates Gandhi, bro? Don't tell me, bro. Is this a young girl? Throughout our time on this earth, there is a list of people that we all know as great due to, you know, certain history books. For example, like Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Kim Jong-un. Well, I guess not him, but the thing is with all these great people, bro, sometimes they did some really bad things in their life and nobody really talks about it. So today we're going to be checking out great people who weren't great people.
Greatness is a virtue that many of us aspire to achieve.
Facts. We all want to be as great as, you know, one and only LeBron Raymond James.
Whether that be through the skills we develop
Right.
or the impact we have on others, we all have something in our lives that we wish to be great at.
Yes, I think I speak for all of us when I say we want to be remembered by something after we die, you know, long after our time on the earth. Some of us want to have a legacy, you know?
There's a level of greatness that some of us achieve that goes far beyond what we expect from most people.
Right.
Where they make such a significant contribution to the world that we as a society have decided that these are the figures who are great enough to be taught
Facts,
in school.
bro. Like Benjamin Franklin invented the light bulb. Actually, no, I think that was Thomas Edison. Maybe I'm tripping. Wait, was that Thomas Edison? Regardless, I said, I'm gonna be the one to invent some type of machine that's so crazy and so, you know, astonishing that I'm remembered forever. Maybe it has to do with, you know, some type of like suction thing that could like stroke.
Enough to be quoted and great enough to be revered in our collective conscience.
Okay.
But in the process of venerating those who did great things, we often fail to learn the full picture of who they are as people.
Right.
Only learning the good, but not the bad
Or the ugly
side of them, allowing us to succumb to the halo effect. The
Which is?
error we make when a person's achievement allows us to be blind to everything else about them.
Okay.
Now, to clarify, my intention is not to discredit their actual
The halo effect, like Beyonce. Let me see a halo, halo, halo.
Now, to clarify, my intention is not to discredit their actual achievements.
Right.
Nor am I interested in canceling anyone. I'm also not
Buddy,
going
they're long canceled, okay? I'm thinking the people that we talk about in today's video have been dead for over 100 years, damn near.
to mention
You're good, bro.
things
Don't
people
even
did
worry.
that were unsurprising for their time. Because applying today's expectations on the people of yesterday makes absolutely no sense.
Of course.
Most people in human history were probably racist,
Black
or
people, lol.
sexist,
Women,
or
lol. Gay people,
homophobic,
lol.
or whatever
Humans,
else
lol.
you can think of.
The thing is, none of these ideologies have ceased to exist. They all still exist to this day.
So I'm not really
Facts.
interested in virtue signaling about how someone 100 years ago said
Disabled children should die. What the hell?
something problematic. However, if what they did contradicts what made them great to begin with, that's fair game. And
Right.
so, I present to you great people who weren't great people.
Let's get started.
We'll start with pissing off an entire nation of fake accents by talking about Sir Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill.
Which region?
Or just Churchill. Better
This is Britain? Oh, if it's pissing off British people, that's one thing I am absolutely here for.
known as that guy who defeated Hitler.
Oh.
To this day, the British consistently regard him as one of the greatest Britons to have ever lived. And if all you know about Churchill are his achievements as the UK's leader against the
I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know much about this dude at all. All I know is his name. What did he even
you
do?
probably
Bro's
feel
irrelevant.
the same way. But here's the hard truth.
Bro fell off.
If it wasn't for World War II, Churchill would have been
He not like that for real.
remembered for much worse. And that's being generous, since he
I'm just
likely
kidding.
wouldn't be remembered at all. Despite being one of history's most staunch opponents of the Nazi regime and its hateful ideology, he had surprisingly similar views that a racial hierarchy existed, believing that white Protestants were at the top, followed by white Catholics, then Indians,
Damn.
and then Africans. Apparently the other
The Indians are above us? Why, bro? What's the logic behind that? I'm not saying that Indians are bad or anything, but I'm confused. Like, okay, you have white, but you're like, nah, next up is Indians, and then it's black. So I guess maybe it goes in like ranging skin color order.
races didn't matter enough. Again, I'm not interested in bringing up all his comments if those ideas were mainstream.
So Sir Winston Churchill himself was a black person hater.
But even during that time, his views on racial supremacy to justify
I do not really think that black people are as capable or as efficient as white people. Bro, black people are natural born athletes, bro. What does that even mean?
British imperialism were considered to be fringe and extreme. As late as 1955, 10 years after defeating the Nazis, he reportedly suggested the phrase, "Keep England white," as a good slogan Keep England white as a good slogan to use against immigration.
Keep England white as a good slogan. And nowadays, bro, they have, better slogans like make America great again. Nah, he was raw dog, straight up with it. He's at least real with it, bro.
But perhaps the worst stain on Churchill's legacy is his action. Or rather, lack of action.
What did he do?
During the Bengal famine of 1943.
The what?
While British officials begged for food supplies to be directed for India, Churchill and his cabinet ordered 170,000 tons of wheat from Australia to be transported to Europe in order to build a stockpile for European
to make some more
civilians. Let me say that
literally
again.
and figuratively.
He ordered food to pass by millions of starving people who were his British subjects at the time in order to be used for storage in Europe. But this isn't terribly surprising given that he once said, "I hate Indians."
Oh, this guy's the OG, rage-baiting, racist, internet scumbag. That's just what it is.
They are a beastly people with a beastly religion. As well,
I do not understand racism at all, bro. It doesn't make any sense, bro. Just, bro, feed the people. They are under your jurisdiction. What are you talking about?
Blaming the famine severity on his view that Indians breed like rabbits. By the time he finally approved for food to be sent, up to 3 million people were already dead. Lastly,
so you're gonna do it when it's too late? You're gonna do it when it's too late? You scum of the earth.
The man hated Gandhi with a passion. Since
you hate Gandhi? Who hates Gandhi, bro? Gandhi is known for peaceful resistance, peaceful protests, and civil disobedience? How do you hate a person who just is the OG, unaffected rage baiter, bro? How do you hate a man who doesn't hate you at all? He has no violence in his heart.
He represented a largely peaceful movement advocating for Indian independence.
Right.
Consistent with earlier points about his belief that certain races were inferior to others and his general disdain for
British, Northwestern and Central Europeans, Southern Europeans, Eastern Europeans, Asians, Africans. Motherfucker put every single list of Europeans before he put any other race. Yo, you're a sick man.
India, Churchill was completely against any form of self-determination for Britain.
That is funny.
And
I can't
actively wished for Gandhi and his movement to die in failure. Now that I've pissed off the English and made goodwill with the Indians,
screw the English,
it's time to burn the bridge with my fellow Indians and talk about Gandhi. This man has been rightfully celebrated by India.
No way, Gandhi, my God, bro. Gandhi is him, bro. Me and Gandhi are locked in like that. What did Gandhi do, bro? Don't tell me, bro. Gandhi was, a black person hater or something, bro. What did Gandhi do, bro?
Helping to bring about the country's independence from the United Kingdom, and he's admired internationally for his use of non-violent activism.
Right.
But despite his lifelong battle against the oppression of Indians by the British Empire, he didn't seem to mind knowing that the same empire was also oppressing Africans, referring to them as savages, half-heathen natives.
Okay, Gandhi, so you see that Africans are being enslaved as well? What are you gonna do about that?
And dirty like animals. How someone can have those beliefs about a group of people, but also insist that those beliefs don't apply to his own group is baffling to say the least.
Wait, what? I'm confused.
It would be a bit like him saying, "Hey Britain, you need to stop viewing Indians as dirty, uncivilized people and give us independence."
Okay.
Oh wait, you meant the Africans? Yeah, I totally agree with you then.
No way, Gandhi. You think that my people are savages? You think that we're uncivilized? Come on, bro. We supposed to be on the same team, dog, with this devious smile, bro. There ain't no way. Say it ain't so, bro.
Gandhi also had some disturbing ideas about sex.
What?
He would conduct so-called tests on his celibacy in order to determine his self-control.
What?
To him, lust was an enemy that needed to be destroyed. And he somehow concluded that the best way to defeat it was to...
Don't tell me, bro. Is this a young girl?
And he somehow concluded that the best way to defeat it was to sleep with naked teenagers who were more than half a century younger than him. Despite all these shortfalls of Gandhi,
in order to kill the lust in your body, the horniness, you decided to sleep with teenagers who are over 50 years younger than you. You're not a peaceful man. No, this can't be. Not the one and only Gandhi, bro. No.
He helped to inspire younger generations throughout his lifetime, convincing leaders around the world to use nonviolent means to advocate for their
causes, so he did do some good stuff.
One of them being our next great person, Martin Luther King Jr.
No way.
Revered for his powerful and inspiring speeches protesting the injustices black people face in America.
No, I don't want to hear the intro to this. What did MLK do? I need to find out now.
MLK is rightfully at the top of many lists when it comes to history's greatest people.
Right.
But if there's one thing confirming that he's still just a human, it was women. Throughout his life as a civil rights
What did he do to women?
leader, women in the movement have been consistently put on the sidelines.
Okay.
Figures such as Ella Baker and Dorothy Height describe their personal experiences of often being made subordinate to male leaders like MLK.
Right.
Despite the fact that they were the same skin color, fighting for the same cause.
So what did he do?
I guess when he gave his famous I Have a Dream speech and declared that all men are created equal, he really only meant that all men are created equal.
MLK don't like women? You're a misogynist? Oh yeah, we don't like MLK no more, okay? MLK, all of his accomplishments are immediately gone, because if you know me, you know this channel, bro. Everybody here supports women. We read, feminist literature. We are advocates of, the female gender. We think everybody's equal. The wage gap should cease to exist. All of the above. Menstrual products should be free. Yeah, that's what we all believe. So yeah, we don't rock with MLK in 2025, bro. Facts.
And he
right,
wasn't
guys?
much better with women in his personal relationships either, having been a serial cheater to his wife up until his assassination.
Yo, you freaky bro. Come on, man. Why would you do that, man?
In fact, as a deeply religious figure, MLK himself recognized the sinfulness of his infidelity and reportedly felt unworthy of the many accolades people place upon him, not wanting to be treated as a saint. But someone who did want to be a saint and ended up becoming one is none other than Saint Teresa of Calcutta. With the name
maybe I have no ball knowledge, but I have no idea who this is.
Synonymous with selflessness, Saint Teresa of Calcutta. With the name synonymous with selflessness, Mother Teresa continues to be admired around the world as a humanitarian icon, even receiving the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979.
Okay, am I an idiot? I feel like everybody knows who this is and I don't.
The best way to comprehend her impact on the world is by understanding that her primary objective wasn't really to reduce suffering, heal the sick, or even help the poor. Rather, it was to bring as many people to the Catholic Church as possible.
Okay.
Oftentimes, this objective happened to overlap with plenty of good things she did, like building schools and orphanages.
So she did nice things, right? Good things,
and
great
taking
things.
in those with illnesses. But there were also plenty of moments when her objective didn't do much good, and may have even done more harm to those she was supposedly helping.
What'd she do?
Many of the facilities Mother Teresa ran were observed as having extremely unhygienic conditions.
You ran dirty ass hospitals? Yo, Mother Teresa. Yo, where's the motherly love here, bro?
And a lack of actual medical
We need to deploy people to scrub the, floors and stuff and spray the corners with Raid spray so the roaches don't come in, man.
staff, food, and painkillers. A former volunteer revealed that dying patients were simply given aspirin rather than proper medication.
Damn,
and recalled how needles continue to be reused without being sterilized, which would
You guys were reusing needles in the hospital? Bro, that's a quick way to get everybody to catch HIV, HPV, STDs, STIs, and all the above, dude. Damn.
be horrible today, but was even more horrible.
And then imagine, they're like, I'm in crazy pain. I'm going through it. Okay, I feel like spiders are crawling inside of my butthole. Nah, just take an aspirin. You'll be fine. Like,
during
what?
the height of the AIDS epidemic. It gets even worse.
Oh, I knew it. I was literally on target with that. I knew it, bro. AIDS, I knew it.
Teresa's organization would receive tens of millions of dollars every year.
Okay.
Most of which is now believed to be held by the Vatican. Teresa.
So you got $10 millions of donos, okay? They were subbing to you on Twitch, sending you live chats, text-to-speech, and you weren't spending any of that on actually, on actually caring for the people inside the clinic? What are you doing, Teresa?
Were based on her fundamentalist Catholic beliefs, like her view that poor people suffering in this world was actually a good thing. One saying, there is something beautiful in seeing the poor accept their lot, to suffer it like Christ's passion.
Okay, then give up all your possessions, okay? Be one of them. What? She one of the celestial dragons from One Piece. That's what it sounded like, but I actually don't know what she did that was crazy good, so maybe I can't even say.
The world gains much from their suffering.
Is that Madara Uchiha?
It is from this framework of glorifying human pain where we can begin to understand why none of the hundreds of millions of dollars Mother Teresa received over the years went to bringing in doctors to actually help the sick, or why water heaters for washing and cleaning were refused, or why proper medication wasn't purchased.
So she wanted these people to suffer because, you know, in her belief, you know, God is the one who was suffering and, you know, much the same. But if that's the case, bro, why don't you just give up all your life possessions and suffer too? If y'all watch One Piece, like Doflamingo's dad, right?
In another orphanage, volunteers would tie up disabled children without batting an eyelid. There was clearly a general roughness toward people in Mother Teresa's care. So despite being declared a saint by Pope Francis in 2015, to many of her critics, she was certainly anything but.
But that, okay.
What's the opposite of an old woman who's deeply religious, quiet, and conservative?
A loud young woman who's liberal and, I don't know.
A young man who's anti-religious, violent, and communist. Yet both are in the same category of those who are venerated by millions around the world while not actually being great people. I am, of course, talking about Mr. Ernesto Che Guevara, the
I have no idea who this is either. I'm not gonna lie to you.
ubiquitous symbol for counterculture and rebellion. He tortured and executed hundreds of people and established Cuba's first military units to aid production, or concentration camps for short.
And who did he hold?
Tens of thousands of intellectuals, gay people, priests, conscientious objectors, and really anyone who is considered antisocial, such as hippies, were targeted.
What type of... So what's... Okay, so in his head, he's like, yo, we gotta get all the creative people, you know? We gotta get the hippies, black people, anybody who doesn't like to talk to people. You know, you're introverted. Yeah, line them up. We're gonna stuff them in a camp and basically enslave them. Bro, why?
It is especially ironic considering that the very people who celebrate him today would be the exact types of people thrown into these forced labor camps or just straight up executed. Despite having the supposed morally superior ideology, Che referred to gay people as sexual perverts, Mexicans as a band of illiterate Indians, and black people as those magnificent examples of the African race who have maintained their racial purity thanks to their lack of affinity with bathing.
What?
Quite the progressive icon. What's probably the most ironic thing about Che...
Black people maintain their identity by bathing? Are you trying to say that we're dirty? I'm confused.
The anti-capitalist that would have him rolling in his grave would be the fact that his iconic photograph has been making filthy capitalists filthy rich from the very moment he died.
So this dude was the anti-capitalist and that was like the best thing about him?
Selling millions of posters, hats, flags, hoodies, backpacks, mouse pads, shirts, you name it.
And all the people buying this, bro, he hated you. What?
Being commercialized and exploited more than possibly any other figure.
But then again, I actually don't know who this is for real, so, you know, yeah, I don't know all the good he did either.
History. Today, his rock star image to most people makes him less Lennon and more Lennon, which, speaking of the devil.
Who? All right, bro, you're beginning to creep me out a little bit here. What's going on? Yo, what in the, you know, satanic ritual is happening on this video, bro?
Considered one of the greatest musicians of all time,
John
there is
Lennon.
no doubt that John Lennon, along with the rest of the Beatles...
I was gonna say, is John Lennon a part of the Beatles? Because I know the Beatles, but I don't really remember. I'm not familiar with rock that much. I listen to a little bit of rock here and there, you know, Deftones and stuff of that nature, but not the old stuff like this.
Ringo. Forever changed the world of music. So it's quite understandable why
who was in the Beatles? John Lennon, Paul McCartney? I don't know the rest off the top of my head.
Of boomers, and frankly, even younger generations adore John Lennon for having created so many songs that continue to be popular to this day. Throughout his life, he was also famous for his commitment to love and peace, and became a symbol for it too.
But what they all say, I love rock instruments. Like, this is a side note, but like the guitars, you know, bass guitars, or like electronic guitars, or like even the drums, like I just, sometimes they be hitting.
But it's a shame he didn't practice what he preached, given that he publicly confessed to having beaten women.
What?
Practice what he preached, given that he publicly...
I used to be cruel to my woman and physically any woman. I was a hitter. I couldn't express myself and I hit. Ugh, bro. This dude was straight up beating women. Yeah, you're scum, buddy.
He confessed to having beaten women, cheated on his wife, treated their child like absolute garbage.
Damn, triple whammy.
And then left his family to be with Yoko Ono so they could make whatever the hell this is.
You just say my woman is a nigga? Why is kind of hitting though? Huh? Your woman is a slave? Yo, you have a kid to take care of, buddy. Yo, what is this? It sounds good though, I ain't gonna lie.
Perhaps this is why he found it easy to imagine there was no heaven. He probably
This is why you do away and found like a Native American woman or something, and then yeah.
Probably didn't expect to enter it anyways. But he's far from the only great person
This dude just looks like he does shrooms all the
to
time.
have treated his significant other like crap. Take JFK for instance. A
JFK.
president beloved by Americans from
Yeah.
both the left and right. Something that is impossible for any of our politicians today.
Unless it's Obama, buddy.
And sure, part of it is the simple fact that JFK was young, attractive, and assassinated. Comparing that to the two candidates we
So he had like
currently
more
have,
aura than the other candidates of today's day, basically.
where both of them are not young, not attractive, and not assassinated.
Damn.
But an even bigger reason is that we now live in a world where every issue, person, and news story is polarized to such an extent that people will have completely different facts on a subject based on where
Fake news is running rampant, bro.
the president we all know and love who was killed by insert your favorite theory here. But
Oh, we
he's
don't even
also
know?
the president who is too busy cheating on his pregnant wife while partying in Europe to bother coming back home as she gave birth to their child, who ended up being stillborn. Guess who
So your pregnant wife had a child. While that was happening, you're in Europe cheating on her while she's alone, having a child, and the child is born, stillborn? Oh yeah, you're scum, bro. What do we even say about that? How do you even justify that remotely?
wasn't much better? Dr. Seuss, the man
No way, bro. This is my guy, bro. Dr. Seuss, one fish, red fish, two fish, blue fish. Horton wears a who? The Lorax? Goddamn. Thing 1 and thing 2? God damn, there are so many different things I can pull up and reference from my childhood that Dr. Seuss created. Green eggs and ham? Like,
and we all know and love for creating classic children's books like The Cat in the
Yeah.
Hat, Green Eggs
Yup.
and Ham. Ooh, okay, not that one.
What?
Wait, not that one either.
what? Hold on.
Ooh,
Waiting for the signal from home, Washington, Oregon, California. Honorable fifth column, TNT. Wait, are these Asian people? This is propaganda?
okay, not that one. Wait,
No, Dr. Seuss. No. No. Did you draw this? Of us?
not that one either. What the fuck? How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yeah.
The Lorax.
Yeah.
And so many others. But even he, the man whose books touched the childhoods of every generation going all the way back to the boomers,
Right.
reportedly had an affair, drove his wife of 40 years to suicide.
Damn.
And then married the new woman just 8 months later.
Oh, he's a savage.
Steve Jobs,
Not in a good
or
way.
as I called him in my previous video, Steve Apple, is considered to be one of the greatest figures in the world
Oh, yeah,
of
he's a huge tech
technology.
guy.
Putting aside the fact that he was more of the marketer rather than the creator for these
Oh, he didn't even
Apple
make
products
Apple?
we know and love. Regardless, in many aspects of his life, he was just a straight up bad father,
Oh, damn.
partner, friend, boss, and well, person.
See, sometimes I'm thinking like this. Stuff like this is why karma isn't even like, you know, real for real. Because I'm like, bro, sometimes people are evil and they'll do crazy stuff and they'll still get rewarded by the craziest, you know, experiences in their life, dude.
From the beginning of his career, Steve Jobs tricked his fellow Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak into working day and night on a project for
So he ain't even the real Steve who worked on this for real.
Atari by imposing an unnecessarily stressful deadline. They agreed to split the payout 50-50. But when Atari paid Jobs $5,000, he claimed they only received $700 and so
Okay.
gave his friend $350, who later cried when he found out about it.
You slam your homie out for $350 when you got $5K. $5K is not enough to even be doing all that crazy mischievous stuff for. Give him his 2.5 and call it a day, dude.
Also refused to...
See, you are not a real nigga at all, bro. You are not allowed in the hood, bro. You cannot come to Baltimore, okay? Did I say that like I'm from Baltimore? Yes. Am I from Baltimore? No.
Provide his most loyal employees with stock options, which prompted the better Steve to try to do the right thing by giving them money out of his own personal share. Outside of being a terrible boss at Apple, Steve Jobs refused to pay a single dollar in child support for his daughter and forced his partner to clean houses and live on welfare in order to raise their child.
Yo, that's messed up, man. It's your own child, too.
This is all while he was a multi-millionaire. And it wasn't until
you had millions of dollars and Judge Judy had to step in to take care of your child and your wife or your ex-wife who's scrubbing houses, living on welfare, check to check. Yeah, bro. See, I'm not one to be like, oh yeah, child support for the woman is absolutely necessary. But in a case like this, bro, where your child is struggling, bro, you gotta pay up something, man. That's like, you know.
He was legally forced to provide payment when he finally gave in. On top of all that, he continued to publicly deny that the child was his, even after paternity tests proved that
you are the father.
Damn! Yo, Jobs, bro, you got a kid, bro. You're a deadbeat dad, bro. It's cool. It's not cool.
And one more thing that might seem insignificant to some people, but what I think says a lot about his character. He would regularly park in handicap spots and drove without a license plate because he just didn't like how it made the car look.
Yo, this dude got an ego, bro.
Just pure narcissism at its finest. So at this point, it seems clear that being smart doesn't prevent people from making stupid decisions.
Oh, yeah.
Even Albert Einstein, whose name is now synonymous with genius,
Albert Einstein is known as the most genius man in all of the world, bro. The fact that, bro, there are One Piece characters like goddamn Dr. Vegapunk based on you, bro. You can't let us down, bro. What did you do, bro?
Serious flaws as a person. The physics prodigy was able to figure out four-dimensional space-time,
4Ds,
relativity of simultaneity, kinematic and gravitational time dilation, length contraction, and
length contraction. Yo, I need some contraction on my length, okay? I need some more length in my contraction, you know?
Contraction,
I need help with that.
And most famously, mass energy equivalence.
E equals MC squared, yep.
Couldn't figure out how to treat his wife and children like human beings.
What do you do?
There's no record of Einstein having ever bothered to meet.
This is what Einstein looked like when he was younger? What's his ethnicity? Is he just a white guy?
His first child. And scholars believe that he and his wife gave her up to an orphanage. After having two more...
You gave your child up on a stork? Like a delivery?
...children with the same wife and deciding to keep them this time.
Wait, what?
After having two more children with the same wife and deciding to keep them this time, he suddenly decided to start cheating on her with his own cousin. And you
put this freaky ass picture of him up. You know, it's only fitting, bro. Your own cousin? Ew, dude. Yeah, you got some, you know, issues going on in that brain. Some people say, you know, the smarter you are, the more insane you are. And that might be a fact.
I'd assume that it was surely a third cousin twice removed or something. But nope, they were first cousins. Their moms,
Sweet Home Alabama,
were sisters. As if that wasn't bad enough, after his wife found out—
How are you down to do that? But also, how is your cousin also down to do that? Like, that's just too weird.
What about the affair? She felt it was still better that Einstein stay with her for their two children. But he forced her to accept the following conditions. My clothes are kept in good order.
Okay.
I am served 3 meals a day in my room. We will have no personal relations or affection, unless we're out in public to keep up social appearances.
Brother.
And you must leave my bedroom or study immediately when I ask you to.
Brother Einstein, you are in no position to be making these demands. You cheat on me with your cousin, and you haven't ever tell me that you need me to make you 3 meals a day? Yo, you could eat some goddamn dog shit if you ask me, bro. What the hell?
In other words, he told her, clean and organize my clothes, make me breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
Do not touch me. Yeah. And shut up and leave whenever I feel like it.
Basically, yeah, just
to add
slave.
Insult to injury, he would describe his wife as an unfriendly, humorless creature, writing, I treat my wife as an employee whom I cannot fire.
What the hell,
She ended up
bro?
having a nervous breakdown after he decided to still leave her and their 2 children and marry his first cousin.
Yo, Einstein, you're sick, bro. You're sick.
Now, one might have hoped that at the very least, he found his
All that damn science and you don't know that genetics are like weird when you're, you know, messing with people when you're side of your same family.
true love in his cousin and remain faithful to her happily ever after. But nah, if anything, he had even more affairs with women during his second marriage than his first.
So he started cheating on his cousin with other people? Yo, this guy's
So it
just...
seems that if you're smart enough,
you're a freak.
whitewashed enough, respected enough, talented enough, or die early enough, you can get away from the scrutiny of society
That's true.
and maintain a fairly positive legacy.
That's true.
Look, I'm not saying that we need to invalidate people's meaningful achievements just because they also did awful things.
True.
And I'm certainly not telling you to buy an Android or listen to the Beach Boys or be racist. Being a great person and being a great person are two very different things. But what's unfortunate
That's a fact. Like in terms of being famous, as in great, or famous, or great as in like a good, you know, moral compass and things of that
this
nature.
world is that too often we only seem to admire one of them when we should be celebrating both. Yes, we ought to be thankful for all the wonderful things these people did for us, but we should be just as grateful for the great people in our lives that make life truly great.
What a video, man. That was a long one. Yo, that was great people who were not great people. So today we learned that Gandhi, you know, MLK, John Lennon, JFK, Einstein, Churchill, and among others all had different issues that, you know, made them potentially not so great or as great as we might think. What was the worst one? I don't know. There was some pretty bad ones, bro. I would say the ones where they're like abusing women, being extremely racist maybe, are like the worst ones. I guess Gandhi's one was actually pretty bad too. Let me know down below in the comment section which one you think was the worst. As always, please make sure you sub to the channel. Like and subscribe. Join the Discord link in the description. Let me know if you enjoyed. With that being said, it's love you all. I love you, and I'm out.